Lord Sidebottom and the Pirate Pandemonium by Jon Cronshaw. Chapter 1. The velvet carpet sank beneath my steam boots as I stepped aboard the Skyward Empress, the most luxurious airship ever constructed, and a testament to the limitless scope of my own invention. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, illuminated by the glow of alchemical lamps. A string quartet filled the grand foyer with soothing melodies as passengers in their finery sipped champagne flutes and cast sideward glances in my direction. I had been invited as the guest of honor for the Skyward Empress's maiden aerial voyage, and it must be said, my presence was generating quite the stir among the upper crust. Lord Sidebottom, welcome aboard. Captain Hargreaves' impressive handlebar moustache bristled as he pumped my hand. We are honored by your presence. Please let me know if you require anything during the journey. I nodded, eyes wide, still taking in the sheer opulence surrounding me. It was one thing to see one's invention laid out on plans and blueprints, but quite another to step inside and marvel at the latest wonder of British engineering. Gold filigree adorned the walls, rare oil paintings hung in gilded frames, plants from across the empire sprouted from mechanical planters. The ship's sommelier presented me with a crystal glass bubbling with smooth champagne. I mingled with the elite passengers, including aristocrats, heiresses, and celebrities. They approached me eagerly, particularly the ladies batting their eyelashes and twirling their parasols. Lord Sidebottom, I've heard so much about your perpetual propeller engine, gushed one bejeweled lady, laying her gloved hand on my arm. You simply must tell me how it works. I'm absolutely fascinated by such scientific matters. I launched into an explanation, the lady's eyes glazing over as I described the engine's alchemical principles and gearbox configuration. She nodded absently. How very clever, my lord. The ship's bells chimed, signaling the commencement of our 7-course welcome dinner. I escorted the bejeweled lady to my table, pulling out her seat as a gentleman should. Yet my eyes were drawn to the striking woman seated opposite me, her jet-black hair arranged in an elegant updo. She had high cheekbones and wore a daring low-cut emerald gown. I caught the spark in her striking green eyes before she lowered them demurely. Lady Penelope, may I introduce Lord Sidebottom, said Captain Hargreaves. A pleasure, Lady Penelope, I said with a courteous bow. The pleasure is mine, Lord Sidebottom. What brings you aboard the Skyward Empress? I was invited as a guest of honor, on account of this ship being my own invention, and yourself. A wry smile crossed her ruby lips. I booked passage at the last moment. Let us just say I am leaving certain things behind. Intriguing. Lady Penelope was clearly a woman of mystery. Throughout the extravagant dinner, our conversation danced around our personal lives, hinting at secrets. An unspoken attraction simmered beneath the surface. Over dessert, the quartet struck up a waltz. Couples moved to the dance floor in the center of the grand dining hall. Would you care to dance, Lord Sidebottom? Lady Penelope asked. It would be my pleasure. I took her hand and led her to join the other swirling couples. We moved in time to the mellifluous melody. Lady Penelope waltzed with grace, following my lead, her hand delicate yet firm in mine. I found myself wishing the dance would never end. Alas, the music faded out, and we stepped apart. Applause broke out as the airship approached London for its flyover. The view through the panoramic windows took my breath away, but then a flash of steel caught my eye. On the horizon crept an armada of airships, their sails emblazoned with skull and crossbones insignias. Pirates. Murmurs rippled through the gathering crowd as we drifted helplessly closer. Captain Hargreaves shoved through the throng, his face pale. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we have some uninvited guests approaching. Please stay calm. I advise you return to your rooms for your own safety. The elite passengers erupted into chaos, shoving towards the exits. Lady Penelope grabbed my arm, terror in her eyes. Lord Sidebottom, what shall we do? I met her gaze steadily. Have no fear, my lady. I shall protect you. Chapter 2. The pirate ship surrounded the Skyward Empress, grappling hooks launching forth to latch onto the hull. Captain Hargreaves shouted orders, calling all crew to defensive positions, but they were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Through the windows I spotted the lead ship, drawing alongside the Skyward Empress. Its captain stood at the helm, a hulking brute of a man with a bushy black beard entwined with silver chains and rings. His left eye was covered by an intricate eye patch of brass cogs and glowing lights. With a bellowing laugh, the pirate captain leaped aboard, cutlass clenched in his bionic claw hand. His ragtag crew followed, brandishing axes, hooks, and flintlock pistols. "I am Captain Skybeard," he roared. "Me and my crew are taking over this here ship. Resist, and you walk the plank." His men swarmed through the passageways, rounding up the elite passengers at cutlass point and locking them in their lavish quarters. I pressed Lady Penelope into a shadowy alcove, shielding her body with mine. "Do not make a sound," I whispered. She nodded. Heavy footfalls drew near. As a pirate passed, I reached out and pinched a nerve cluster at the base of his neck. He collapsed instantly. I lowered his unconscious body to the floor gently. "Where did you learn that?" Lady Penelope gasped. "No time to explain. We must stop Skybeard before he crashes the ship." We slipped down the corridor, dodging pirates. I tapped my signet ring and twisted it. A small blowpipe emerged from my coat sleeve. I puffed a dart into the neck of another scallywag, crossing our path before he could shout. Lady Penelope stared at me, astonished. We reached the grand ballroom, which the pirates had converted into their headquarters, full of rowdy carousing and drinking. I peered through a crack in the door. Skybeard stood conferring with his first mate, a wiry man called Claw Digits. "Once we lock down the cockpit, I'll slam this beauty straight into Buckingham Palace. That'll send a message from us sky folk that we won't tolerate their tyranny no more," I gasped. Skybeard planned to crash the Skyward Empress as an anarchist attack against Queen Victoria. This would ruin the reputation of airships and threaten the entire aeronautics industry, not to mention the distinct possibility of him slaying our monarch. I had to stop him. Just then, Lady Penelope let out a small squeak. I turned to see a pirate leering down at her, his foul breath washing over us. "Well, well, what have we here?" "A couple of stowaways." With lightning reflexes, I whacked his wrist, making his pistol misfire. As he fumbled to reload, I landed a barrage of blows to his head and torso. He crumpled to the ground with a groan. "Lady Penelope, quickly now, out the side door," I whispered, hustling her away from the commotion. We entered a lavish sitting room. I shut the door and turned to her. "It seems you have some explaining to do. How did you know to duck when that pistol went off? And that scream sounded rather staged." I narrowed my eyes. "Just who are you?" Lady Penelope sighed, her facade of helplessness dropping away. "Very well. I am Lady Penelope Bellefontaine, agent of the Royal Aeronautics Intelligence Bureau. I was assigned to infiltrate this airship based on suspicions of a potential attack." I reeled in shock. This refined lady was a spy. "Why didn't you stop the pirates then?" I demanded. "My mission was strictly surveillance. Intervention was not authorized. But now we find ourselves in the middle of a full-blown terrorist plot. We have to stop Skybeard before he murders thousands." I paced, thoughts churning. Lady Penelope's deception stung me to the core, yet an attack on this scale would be devastating. I had to trust she was still on the level. "Very well," I said finally. "We make an unlikely team, but we both want to save this ship. Give me a moment." I hurried to the room's ornate writing desk and scribbled a quick note explaining Skybeard's plot. Opening the window, I whistled. Within moments, my trusty Meccano raven Archimedes fluttered down and perched on the sill. "Take this to the palace airfield quickly now," I said, securing the note in his message capsule. With an affirmative squawk, Archimedes spread his brass wings and soared away. I turned to Lady Penelope. "I've sent word to the authorities, but even their fleet won't reach us in time. We must stop Skybeard ourselves." She nodded, determination glinting in her eyes. "Just tell me what I need to do." Chapter 3. Lady Penelope and I stealthily made our way back to the grand ballroom, which the pirates were using as their base of operations. It was time to put our plan into action. We hid behind a suit of armor as two scallywags lumbered by, keeping watch. I fiddled with the mechanisms on the back of the armor, bringing its empty helmet swiveling down to wallop one of the pirates upside his skull. As he stumbled to the ground, Lady Penelope sprung forth, administering a tranquilizer and dragging the blighter from view. We slipped into the ballroom, my jaw dropped at the stockpile of weapons and explosives the pirates had amassed: steam-powered cutlasses, grenados, flintlocks, kegs of gunpowder. This much firepower could blow the Skyward Empress's balloons right out of the sky. Moving quickly, we got to work. I loosened the lids of the gunpowder kegs, while Lady Penelope stuffed scraps of fabric into the flintlock barrels to jam them. Soon the pirates would find their own weapons turned against them. As we exited, the airship lurched violently, nearly knocking us off our feet. Through the portholes, I saw the land racing towards us at an alarming pace. Skybeard was steering us straight into a nosedive over the palace. We were nearly out of time. A muffled shout came from a nearby supply closet. I pressed my ear against the door. "Help, I'm trapped in here," came a muffled voice. Lady Penelope and I exchanged a look. It was the captain. I fiddled with the locked door. "Not to worry, Captain. We'll have you out in a jiffy." The lock finally released, and we pulled the door open. Captain Hargreaves tumbled out bound and gagged. I hastily cut him free with my pocket knife, while Lady Penelope stood guard. "Thank Neptune's beard, I thought I was done for," Hargreaves exclaimed, rubbing his rope-chafed wrists. "Those blackguard pirates ambushed me on the bridge. We have to regain control of the Skyward Empress before it's too late." He strode purposefully towards the exit, but I grabbed his arm. "Hold on, Captain. It's still crawling with pirates out there. We'll need a strategy." Hargreaves yanked his arm free. "Blast it, man, I know this ship better than anyone. We must retake the bridge immediately." He tried pushing past me, but I stood firm. Something wasn't right. The captain I knew was a careful tactician who would never suggest such a reckless plan. I stared hard into his eyes. "Why are you so eager to rush into action, Captain? It's almost as if you want us to fail." Hargreaves scoffed, but glanced away nervously. "Don't be absurd now, step aside." In a flash I had him shoved against the wall, my arm pressed to his throat. Lady Penelope gasped. "You're not our captain at all," I growled. The man's facade crumbled. All right, I'm Claude Digits, Skybeard's first mate. I disguised myself as the captain to lure ye into a trap." I released my hold, and he sagged down. Lady Penelope kept her pistol aimed at him. "Where is the real Captain Hargreaves?" she demanded. Claude Digits glowered sullenly. "I'll never talk." I grabbed a cutlass off the wall and pointed it at him. "You sure about that, matey?" He threw his hands up. "Okay, Skybeard's keeping him chained up on the forecastle as insurance. Said he'd make him walk the plank if we don't crash on schedule." "We have to rescue him immediately," urged Lady Penelope. Chapter 4. We ascended towards the forecastle and spotted the real Hargreaves chained to the railing, mouthing pleas for help against his gag. A nasty bruise blackened his left eye, no doubt Skybeard's handiwork. As I picked the lock of his chains, Lady Penelope kept watch. "Captain, thank heavens, Skybeard means to crash us any moment. We must get you to the helm," I said, but Hargreaves just slumped there, head bowed in defeat. "It's too late, Sidebottom. Skybeard broke me. I'm finished." I grabbed him by the shoulders. "Listen to me, Hargreaves. You are captain of the Skyward Empress, and she needs you now more than ever. Only you can steer us to safety. These people trust you with their lives, and so do we." Hargreaves looked at me, a spark returning to his eyes. He straightened his uniform and nodded solemnly. "You're absolutely right, Lord Sidebottom. I cannot give up so easily. Quickly now, to the helm." Captain Hargreaves, Lady Penelope, and I raced onto the bridge, skidding to a halt as we faced the dastardly Skybeard at the helm. Well, look what the Meccano cat dragged in," he sneered through his tangled beard. "You're too late, Sidebottom. The Skyward Empress will be scrap metal in mere minutes, and indeed, the airship was aimed directly at Buckingham Palace, rapidly approaching. Drawing my rapier, I pointed it at the scurvy cur. "Unhand that wheel, you scoundrel. Your reign of terror ends now." Skybeard let out a wicked laugh. "You think you can best me, lad? I eat whelps like you for breakfast." He drew his cutlass and engaged the complex machinery in his bionic eye. Pistons hissed as a plethora of deadly weapons sprang out, spinning saw blades, serrated pincers, and glowing death ray lenses. What a despicable amalgamation of technology. With a primal roar, Skybeard leaped at me, his arsenal of weapons whirring. I parried his slashes with finesse as Lady Penelope and Captain Hargreaves rushed to the controls. Skybeard was fast and brutal, but I was quicker. "Your technique is sloppy, sir," I chided, as I ducked his swipe. "Might I suggest defense drills? Your footwork is appallingly sluggish." My words only served to enrage him further. He came at me relentlessly, forcing me back across the bridge. I activated my pocket watch force field to block a barrage of mini-missiles. "Impressive toys don't make a true swordsman," I quipped, before disarming him with a clever twist. His cutlass clattered away, but Skybeard had more tricks up his sleeve, quite literally. His wrist cannon fired a grappling hook that latched onto my torso, reeling me towards him. As I struggled against the cable, his claw hand closed around my throat. "Any last words?" he sneered, tightening his grip. Thinking fast, I sprayed oil from my boutonniere, splattering his face. As he recoiled, wiping the grease from his good eye, I landed a double-footed mule kick to his chest, breaking his hold. I flipped gracefully through the air, snatching up his fallen cutlass mid-somersault. When I landed, I crossed both blades at his neck. "Yield," I declared, but Skybeard had one last villainous ploy. "Oh no! My bionic eye! It's malfunctioning!" He staggered back, covering his face. I hesitated, not wanting to strike a blinded man. In that moment, a small dart shot from his wrist, directly towards Lady Penelope. With lightning speed, I slashed the dart from its path, then disarmed Skybeard once more with a masterful twist of my blades. I pinned him against the window, my rapier humming with power against his grizzled neck. His mechanical eye spun uselessly in its socket. "Curses!" he yelled. "No one bests the great Skybeard." I smirked. "I believe I just did. Now call off your attack." Realizing he was beaten, Skybeard slumped in defeat. I kept my blade trained on him as Lady Penelope and Captain Hargreaves pulled the ship out of its dive. We leveled out just above the palace rooftops. The danger passed. Soon we had Skybeard and his villainous crew locked in the brig. As palace airships arrived to escort us home, I joined Lady Penelope at the railing. We had succeeded against all odds, saving thousands of innocent lives. It was a good day for Queen and country. Lady Penelope turned to me, eyes shining. "That was some incredible swordsmanship, Lord Sidebottom." "You were so brave." She leaned in closer, full of ardor. "You know, we make quite the team." I arched an eyebrow. "Your skills are equally impressive, Lady Penelope, but I'm afraid you won't charm any secrets out of me." I pulled away politely. "I appreciate your assistance today, but an agent's loyalty is still to her mission, is it not?" She looked crestfallen. "You're right, of course. My duty comes first. But perhaps someday." Her words trailed off hopefully. I simply offered a courteous bow before strolling away. My inventor's heart belonged to progress alone. The end. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe now so you don't miss out on future stories. To find out more about Jon Cronshaw and his work, and to claim your free starter library, visit joncronshaw.com. Lord Sidebottom and the Pirate Pandemonium is copyright 2023 by Jon Cronshaw. All rights reserved. This is a work of fiction. All characters and events are from the author's imagination. Any similarities to real events or